I'm excited for us to talk again. It's been a little over a week since we were talking about movies.
Yeah. And let me tell you what, even though it's been over a week since we've been talking about them, boy, have I been watching them. You know what I mean?
Me too. So actually, I had an idea that
Yeah.
perhaps, and you and I haven't talked about this because we try to keep our movie conversations fresh
Sure.
for our conversation. So my thought was at this point, we've had one vote for Overboard and one vote for Mystic Pizza. So wouldn't it be cool if people could comment and let us know which of the two they want us to talk about next?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll float that out there
I
as an
like it.
idea.
Oh,
Okay.
the audience participation could be checked off, and that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
folks, make sure you subscribe and make sure you comment and let us know which movie, Overboard or Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Lovebirds. What did
Yeah.
you think of this movie?
It's a fun movie.
Did you think it was going to be like this when you first watched it?
Yeah, but I don't think I expected it to be as funny as it was. I think it presented itself pretty clearly that the story was going to be exactly what it is when you watch the movie. But yeah, I mean, it was funny though.
Yeah, first of all, it's hysterical. I
Yeah.
think this was they talked about this on another podcast I listened to too, but I agree that the chemistry between Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani is fantastic. And I don't know if all of their conversations were if it was scripted or if there was some ad-libbing, but it just seemed so natural and it was in those moments that it felt like it could have been ad-libbed that I thought was especially funny.
You're totally right.
Um, so maybe I didn't read the description. I think it's definitely, a COVID movie. It came out during this time, and I think I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I just didn't know what I was getting into. So it was way funnier than I expected. I, of course, love murder mysteries, so that aspect was kind of cool. And, for people who haven't seen it, first of all, go see it. Second of all, I'll give you a real quick rundown. So it's a couple who are like at the end of their relationship. They get caught up in a murder that wasn't their fault, but they're afraid they're going to be suspected of being the murderers. So they go on a hunt to find the actual murderer to exonerate themselves. And, you know, just a lot of laughs and they get to know each other a little better and sort of rekindle. And that's the movie. But it's just like the adventure is pretty crazy. So how about like when they meet that woman and she gives them an option between bacon grease to the face. Remember when he's
Or
like,
a
"She gonna put bacon grease in my face,"
yeah,
or
or what's
"What's
behind the
behind
door.
door?"
Yeah. Turns out to
and
yeah.
and just that whole conversation between so their character names are Jabran and Leilani, right? So
Mm.
Leilani and Jabran are like, this is an example of it seemed like a natural conversation because she's like, go with the bacon grease, go with the bacon grease, and he's like, what? No, I'm gonna be single because they decide to break up. And
Yeah.
he's like, nobody wants a scarred face, man. And she goes, no, that's attractive. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna be hunting down your Facebook so hard, and if you're not with a scarred man, I'm gonna be pissed. It's just that I don't know. It's just so funny. But anyway, he goes behind the door and gets a big old horse kick to the chest.
It's such a bizarre choice. It's great.
Well, and then after they're at the pharmacy, and I love, did you notice this? She's putting Neosporin on his horse
Right.
kick. Like, what is that going to do?
Right. It is funny. I think what helped the movie a lot as well is that they established a really good chemistry at the beginning of the movie before they even had relationship problems because they have that little introductory 10 minutes of the film before any of the crazy murder mystery stuff happens. It's just them being in a good relationship and growing, and then it goes to, a few years later and things aren't as good as they were. And if we didn't have that beginning really well done chemistry connect at the beginning of the movie, I don't know if I would have really felt the chemistry there without it, which is great. Like, that's awesome that they have that. there are certain movies I think that have this like banter relationship that these two characters had, and it doesn't succeed. Like the movie Friends with Benefits with Mila Kunis and Justin
Timberlake.
Timberlake. That
Hmm.
movie I did not enjoy because their banter relationship just it started with no chemistry. It just started with them disliking each other. So I didn't like them together. I didn't really care if they were together because they didn't like each other to start. So I like that this movie they like each other to start, and then they bring out the banter later, so that you kind of, because you've experienced how good their relationship was, you want them to go back to that point because you were there with them when they had a good relationship, and you wish for that for them again.
I agree. I think that was a good start. And also, I thought the sort of fight scene before they're like, okay, we're done. Um, it wasn't an over the top fight scene. I mean, there was a lot of humor in it, but I thought that was well done too
You
because it
talking like
was
the boat scene?
no, 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 before the boat. Like,
Oh,
so they, at the beginning of the movie, when they're in the apartment before they
mm,
go to the dinner party and get in that accident in the car,
right.
where that's when they're just sort of arguing, but it's also hysterical, but it's more like it's not like there was a big blow up that made them decide. I mean, nobody cheated on anyone. It wasn't like
Yeah, I like that.
me too. It was sort of realistic, and you could kind of tell, especially in Leilani's responses to Gibran, like she's just annoyed with him. She just feels that he's not tolerant, that he's sort of boring,
Right.
that he doesn't get her, um, and he's making funny comments, but he's annoyed with things that she does, and so I just thought that was so well done,
Yeah,
and
same.
also, you know. So not over the top, but also not under. Like there's some shows and movies where the couple gets in a fight and one of them gets so pissed at the other and I'm like, well, I don't understand what the problem is. I'm trying so hard to figure out why that character is upset with the other one.
Mm.
And that I think they established it well in here. It's not that there was one particular thing. It was they just didn't, they didn't get each other. They didn't appreciate each other for what they had.
Mm.
um so yeah, I agree. The establishing the relationship and the ups and downs was very well done.
Yeah, and I think that saved a lot of the what could have been just sort of obvious humor. It made it funny because of the performances of those two leads. Cuz like I feel like comedy movies have a difficult task of making us laugh at them because they're kind of asking us to, because they are comedy movies and they know that their job is to make us laugh, and we know that we are there watching a movie that whose job is to make us laugh. That's always been difficult for me when watching comedy movies, like comedy specific comedy genre movies. It's been difficult for me to find them funny a lot of times because I think we're so well aware of the setup punchline formula of creating humor that when we're watching a comedy and a comedy knows that they're going to have to do that, it's going to be hard for them to pull that off. Like, for example, the one scene where they're trying to break in through the glass doors and she's going to have to use her heel. Like, we all know it's not going to go well. And so you expect all the things that essentially basically end up being what exactly happens in the movie. So it's not like it didn't do what you it's not like it did something you didn't predict, but the performances of the characters were such that they were able to pull off what probably would have just been kind of a mundane, maybe guffaw, if that, to something that was actually you followed through with a laugh because of the way they pulled it off.
Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, I heard something on a podcast, and I wish I could remember which one, but they were talking about how when somebody comes on a talk show
Mm,
and they're a comedian, um, there's so much pressure for them to be funny.
yeah.
And if they aren't, the audience is going to be like, oh, well, they weren't that funny. But if they have like a dramatic actor or singer on the talk show and they make one funny joke, it's, oh, and they're funny.
Right, right, right.
So I think that just goes to your point of, yeah, they've got a lot to measure up to. So I agree with you. I think that it was establishing just, I think, the chemistry of the characters that it allowed us to. We just wanted to hear what they had to say, and we weren't expecting everything to be flawless or non-cheesy. We just wanted to kind of go along for the ride and see, oh my gosh, what are they going to talk about now? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
But I don't. You know what's funny? Because it sounds like you're saying you kind of expected all of these things to happen. I didn't. And I wonder if I just went into this super blind, not having any
Maybe
idea. Yeah, because
because
I
like
wasn't.
I knew the movies that the main characters have done previously, so expected what they just kind of expected based on their repertoire, what they would be like in this movie, and then also because I watched this with Kaylee,
Hmm.
she gave quite a good rundown of what the movie was gonna be like before we watched it, and I kind of got the gist of the movie before we watched it. So when I watched it, it was basically playing out to what I expected it would be, kind of a
Okay.
thing. But so that's
Uh,
like that says a lot for the movie because even though I expected it all, which should assume that it wasn't, it then would the humor would kind of wane. It was still
mhm.
funny.
Yeah, and so I actually had never seen anything with Issa Rae in it. I don't even think I knew who she was.
I just knew her from
Uh,
YouTube. I think she's a YouTube personality.
oh, is she? Okay.
Mm.
And then I had seen um, what is it called? The Big Sick
Yeah.
with Kumail. And so I don't know if that was just a different movie. I mean, it was obviously, but if they were just trying to look for something, it wasn't as funny.
Mm.
Um, I didn't think, and it was more endearing and sweet. So maybe that was just what they were trying for in
Mm.
those two movies. But after seeing The Big Sick, which I really liked, I was like, I don't know if I think he's super funny. I'm not sure. And then I saw him in this, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, I
Um,
like him a lot. I think he's great.
yeah. This is gonna seem, I don't know, I guess kind of out of there were just so many moments in this movie where I just want to laugh about certain scenes. Like the murder happens, and they're in the park and they're freaking out and they're not sure what to do, and they're kind of talking, freaking out and like, what do we do? What do we do? And then like a man walks by with a dog.
Yeah, and they're all like, "Oh, cute doggy, doggy, doggy," and then go right back to what they're talking about. Yeah,
She's
it's
like,
awesome.
she just starts laughing out of nowhere. She's like, and she
Right, right.
goes, what does he say? He's like, oh, look at the little doggy. Oh, hi, baby.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
And it was like you said, like nothing. If anybody else did it, I could see that being done wrong, like
Yeah,
badly. But for me, it was so unexpected, and just that I don't know. It was so funny.
yeah.
Was there anything about the movie that you didn't like?
Nothing that stood out as like a big old red flag, TBH. I mean, taking the movie as what it was made to do, which was be a movie that didn't really take itself too seriously, but had really
Yeah.
strong performances by the leads and basically well written because I think it was a mix between script and ad libs that flowed really well just because their chemistry was great and pretty genuinely funny punchlines and jokes in there. Um, that it was very entertaining, just as I think it was trying to be. So yes, I think the movie was a success.
I agree.
I okay, so when at the end of the movie they go to the cult and they just having a big old it's basically just like Eyes Wide the Stanley Kubrick Eyes Wide Shut movie at the end of the film where they just become a part of this secret sex society. Loved it. Was great. I like when they're starting to leave, like when the announcer person is like, "Everybody stop," and they all do, and she's like, I like that they respect the word no.
Well, and before that, it's clearly an orgy, and she goes, "I'm not hating this," and
Right, right.
and he's like, "Yeah, you've made your thoughts on orgies very clear." I mean, that's from a previous conversation, but yeah. What did that scene reminded me of something, and now I can't think of it. But I mean, I was a little freaked out, like what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what was weird though was when they came in the door, they didn't have masks on. And so they put masks on.
Yeah.
So was that the case with everybody else, or did everyone just come in with masks? Because then
That's a
when
good
they were
point.
sitting, they were like, they're trying to figure out who the fraud is, and they're like, take off your mask, and they're the only two to take them off, and the
Yeah.
guy's like, everyone knows not to take their mask off, but everyone would have seen each other without their masks off when they first walked in the door.
Yeah, I don't think the point was though
We
who
don't know
did
who
we
you are.
yeah, who did we not recognize. It was more who, because I think that you could see who each other were, I guess, but it's just a matter of which one of you. Oh fuck, stupid antivirus thing. Which one of you is not a part of this group based on like theory and
Knowing
rules?
the rules. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than seeing you visually. I have heard that on my research of orgies in the Massachusetts area, that often it is the case that hidden identity is definitely a part of um like sign up orgy things, that they don't want you to reveal your identity, or that, like, which seems pretty crazy because you're heavily revealing every other part of your body, and I don't know if which I guess is parts of your body that don't normally get revealed, so it's not like you can decipher George Harrison by his belly button, which is fair. But
Yeah, but I don't want to be like, what if I know that George Harrison has syphilis and I come to this thing and nope, I didn't mean to say that. I
yo,
go
if someone is showing up to an orgy with syphilis,
Yeah.
they need to get the fuck out because they should not be there. That's just
Right.
not
So,
healthy.
yeah, but you can't just rely on people's good ethics. I mean,
Oh, you
come
can
on.
definitely see syphilis. That's visible.
Yeah, but what if you're asymptomatic? Okay, that's not the point. The point is, I would
It's
want
a
to
very
know
good point.
who it is in case I'm like, oh my God, I know that.
I mean, you definitely have to tell the person curating the whole thing, the moderator, if you will, whether you have any syndromes or studies that you have to tell them about. Because I don't think that's something where you can just park yourself at fucking penetration station and then say, oh, I haven't shucked a couple crabs down there, so we might need to avoid them while we're going in. I don't think that's how it works.
All right, good.
But
Before I get myself involved in this, I want to make sure.
well, you know what's crazy is how easy it is to get involved with something like that. Like, I was so capable of just clicking a join now button and paying $50 and attending one of these things that was at a public hotel in the downtown area of the city. And I knew exactly where the location was just because I've been near it. I was like, I thought these things would be a lot harder to find, but nah, you just type up orgy and then your city name, and it'll give you plenty of options.
I mean, I have so many questions, but I guess I
Well,
won't go there.
I think the other thing is that it's also, you want to, I feel like you want to mask up because just in case you go there and you're like, oh, hey, Linda. And Linda's like, oh, what's up, Joe? I didn't know that you came to these things. You probably don't want to see someone that you know there. I feel, unless that's the point, is to see someone you know there. But if you see someone you know accidentally, that's got to be the worst scenario ever. I
Yeah,
think.
what if your relationships start from a group anonymous orgy section?
You mean like once you're done, you were like, "Hey, this is pretty good." Well, particularly you were. Do you? Which is such an. You got to take them aside for that. You can't say that in front of the group and have Joe and Lisa being like, "Why weren't we good?" And
You're like, here, let me give you notes, Joe and Lisa. Step up your game.
it's like you're picking out a pet at the shelter, and you're like, "You are better than the other ones," and the rest of the puppies are like, "What the fuck? Am I not cute enough for you?" Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think I see what I've always been concerned about when it comes to these things is what if you're that one person? Because it's not like when you go to these things, you have to, what word shall I use? Contribute. Like, you know, can contribute as little or as much as you would like to. But what if you're that one person, how do I say this nicely? For whom no one would particularly want to contribute to you too. You know what I mean?
They
Then
don't
what do
want
you?
you to contribute.
Or yeah, or that. Yeah. What do you do? That must be the worst thing in the world if you're just sitting there and you're like, all right, guys, let me know when you want me to tune in.
I'll
And
just
they're
be right here.
yeah. You just gotta wait your turn for someone to be accepting. I mean, I don't know. That is what I'd be so concerned about if just everybody else was not feeling you, and you would feel so bad about yourself.
Yeah, that's reason enough to not get involved in my book.
Yep,
Like
yep. That's
I
sole
don't need
reason.
any
I'm
I
just
don't
not
need
gonna do it.
judgment. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Um Back to the movie. I thought it was really well done. There isn't anything I would want more from it, honestly.
Mm.
And so when I watched it the second time, I actually think I laughed more. And
Mm.
maybe that's because I knew what to expect now. I know what the movie's about. I know what it's going to deliver versus not, and I can just enjoy it, and I thought it was more fun. Sometimes I worry that if I watch something the second or third time I'm not going to like it as much. But I didn't have that problem with this. I actually enjoyed it more.
Yeah. Agreed. I think it is something that could take maybe 2 or 3 viewings, and you'll still find it funny. Maybe fourth viewing, you're starting to get tired of the jokes, but I think second and third, you're still gonna enjoy it.
There isn't this like so many rom-coms or just romance movies where, oh my god, they propose or now we're living happily ever after. I mean, yeah, they're giving their, it's so funny because the relationship part is the most realistic of the whole movie.
Mhm.
Everything else is just crazy, but how they establish the relationship and how at the end it's them, clearly he's opening up to, okay, maybe we could do this. This is something my girlfriend wants to do. Let's do it. And so they're kind of going on a new thing together. And um, I thought that was great. I thought that was, it's funny, isn't it? That's the most realistic thing because usually in these movies that is not.
You're right. I think they did a good job though. It like maintained your suspension of disbelief and your connection with the movie because the murder mystery storyline plotline is such a there's no way a person can really relate to that, I guess, on a personal level. It's just
Oh, good point.
entertaining, but the
Yeah.
relationship they have was so well written. It was something that you could for sure relate to. So that kept you hand in hand as you went through the whole extravaganza of the craziness.
Okay.
Hell yeah. What would you
So,
rate this?
yeah, good one. I gave About Time
An 8?
an 8. You gave it a 7.5.
Yeah.
And then Practical Magic, I gave a 9. You gave it 6.5.
Right.
So this movie, let's see, probably an 8.
I'm going to give this movie I'm just going to throw this at the window. 7.5.
Okay, so the same as About Time.
Yeah.
That's me too, I think.
Yeah.
I'm giving both an 8. Okay, so my ratings would be Practical Magic first, and then tied for second is About Time and what was this movie?
Yeah,
The
Lovebirds.
What about you? So
I'm
yours would
going to
be
go About Time, The Lovebirds, Practical Magic.
Practical Magic is just sliding in the third.
I don't know. I mean, it's like when I watch it, I feel like I'm watching an 80s movie. There's never been an 80s movie, other maybe than Raging Bull. There's never been an 80s movie that I've watched that I felt like I didn't finish watching and go, boy, what an experience. Every 80s movie I've ever watched has this, which fine. I mean, I don't think every movie is trying to do that for you. It's just the enjoyment I get from movies, me personally, subjectively, is movies where I finish watching it and go, man, that was an experience. And I've never watched an 80s movie like that. Now, I don't think this Practical Magic is an 80s movie, but it gives me that feel of how my
90s.
yeah, it gives me that feel that I have with my relationship with 80s flicks.
Well, if we talk about Mystic Pizza, then I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are, because that is an 80s movie. I think it's like 86 or 88 or something.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah. And I have to say, this is just a little teaser, but I did watch that movie again after not having seen it in many years and was pleasantly surprised at
Oh,
sort of the complexity. So,
steamy.
all right.